Hey, fourth graders. So earlier we went ahead and looked at the characters in our story, and now we're going to go ahead and move on to setting. So we're going to turn to page 2 in our reader's notebook. And in the packet that you got from me at school, you'll find the heading for setting, you'll find a map, and you'll find a clock. So you're going to want to go ahead and cut those out and put those into your notebook, just like you see in my notebook. Feel free to pause the video at any time so that you can get caught up to where I am in the video. So go ahead right now, cut out your heading and put it up here at the top. Make sure you're on page 2, and then go ahead and cut out your map and cut out your clock. All right, when you're ready, we're going to go ahead and take some notes on setting. So up here it says, I can use specific details from the story to describe a setting in depth. And we talked about that in depth means the details. So that when we read the story or the text, whatever it is that we're reading, we're going to want to pull out the details about the setting. I noticed on your pre-assessments, a lot of you had trouble with this word, with setting. You weren't quite sure what that question was asking. So we're going to go ahead and talk about that today. Setting has 2 big parts. Now, the reason we have a map is because setting refers to the where the story takes place. So that's when we're talking about the location. So I'm going to go ahead and write location down here. So the where could be a room in the house. It could be a city or a town. It could be a planet. Remember, we're in fiction, so these can be made up places. So it could be the castle at Hogwarts. It could be Alice in Wonderland. It could be at the palace. So anything that refers to where your story is taking place. And when you read, the setting can change in a story. Not every story is going to stay in one place. So you could sometimes have multiple settings. But where the story takes place influences what happens in the story. A story during a snowstorm in the middle of the Arctic is going to be completely different than if you were reading a story in the middle of a summer in a desert or in Arizona in a hot place. So we talked in class about how a story in 2020 could be totally different than a story in 2019 because of what's been happening and what's been going on. So one part of setting is the where. The other part has to do with this clock, which is going to be the when. And when we talk about the when, that's going to be a year. It could be the time of day. It could be the season. Okay, any of those things are going to be talking about the when. When is something happening? So I guess when talking about about 2020 and 2019, that's going to be more over here. That's going to be the when, not necessarily the where. But the when is going to impact the story just as much as the where. So depending on the year, the time of day, the season, all of these things are referring to the when. So think about a story that might happen in the morning as opposed to a story that might happen at night. At night, you're going to have a character in a story catching fireflies in their backyard. You're not going to have that happening in the morning. So good readers are going to pay attention to the setting of a story to see how the where and the when influences all of the events that are happening. Make sure as you read that you use your markup clues and underline details about setting and underline details that are giving you descriptions of where and when.